Roundnet, the game, easy to learn, difficult to master. So now, the drop shot over the head of Jared Ralph. It's a mix bag.
Good morning. We are checking out Spikeball here in Lake Barrington.
With Spikeball now being played by over 4 million people globally and a company value of over $45 million, most people don't know how Spikeball actually started. In 1989, Jeff Knurek, an American cartoonist and toy maker, created a game invention known as roundnet while working for a toy creation studio in Chicago.
It was my job as a toy inventor to come up with new ideas, and I just was inspired by things I played with when I was a kid. The pitchback that I used to throw a baseball at was the inspiration. What could I do with that? I ended up cannibalizing one and eventually...
Using a hula hoop?
Yeah, I eventually found that square that a pitchback is wasn't working. So I got a hula hoop, put the net across it, and started bouncing boxes and volleyballs and every size ball off of it, and finally came out with something that's about the size of a grapefruit.
It was a simple but effective concept. A ball, a circular net stretched like a trampoline, and two teams competing in a game of dynamic bounces.
The sport of roundnet is played 2-on-2 with each team starting on opposite sides of the net. Once the ball is served, you get up to 3 touches to try to return the ball back on the net, just like 2-on-2 volleyball. Think bump, set, and spike.
From 1989 to 1991, the game was marketed by the Japanese entertainment company Tomy. Throughout the 90s, the game was only sold in a handful of toy stores around the US, but the hype quickly faded due to the outdated nature of the equipment. Now enter Chris Reuter. Chris was 14 and lived in a town called Kankakee, Illinois, when he was first introduced to the game, which was then known as roundnet, in 1989. He would watch his older brothers play the game with friends in their yard growing up. People would occasionally ask about the game as they played because of the unique design and how much fun it looked like they were having. But Chris never really thought much about it. In 2003, everything changed on a trip to Hawaii when Chris, his brother, and his brother's friends brought the game that they had loved playing so much growing up. As they played the game on the beach, so many people were walking up asking where they could buy the game. It was then that Chris finally decided to look into how they could get the game on the market. In 2007, Chris worked for the Xbox division of Microsoft. He had over 10 years of advertising sales experience, but was never really into what he sold. It was around this time that he finally decided to see what it would take to reignite the roundnet sport. He talked to attorneys, and they said the trademark for Spikeball had been expired for 10 years, so no one officially owned the name. So he filed the trademark, costing him around $800 or so. He also stated in an interview that there was never a patent that protected the product itself. The attorneys finally gave them the go-ahead, and the company was officially launched on June 14th, 2008.
Yeah, we launched in June, had a newborn, full-time job, and then Spikeball was kind of the part-time job.
Chris, his brother, cousin, and other childhood friends that grew up playing the game that was originally called roundnet chipped in a total of around $100,000 to get the game off the ground. They actually talked to the guy that had originally invented it and had brief conversations around doing something together, but nothing really came of it. The first version of marketing was entirely manual. Chris went to North Avenue Beach in Chicago, a high-traffic area along Lake Michigan, and brought multiple Spikeball sets with him. As people walked by and stopped to look, he would approach them, introduce the game, and invite them to play. He kept a clipboard with him, talking to anyone who showed interest. That first year, the company generated
$10,882.
During this entire period, there were no full-time employees. Chris was still working a full-time job. His routine was consistent. He would finish work, spend time with his family, and then begin working on Spikeball late into the night. Orders were shipped from his basement. After packaging them, he would drive to the post office around midnight to send them out, then return home and continue working early into the morning.
Start around 9 o'clock or so every night, from 9 until maybe 1 or 2 in the morning. Go to bed, go to my day job, basically do it again. And that went on for about 5 years. In 2013, it grew to be big enough, $1 million in annual revenue with 0 full-time employees. It was still a side job.
Every time someone placed an order, Chris would respond personally. The emails included confirmation details, a reference to the customer's location, and a single question at the end. How did you hear about Spikeball? At first, most customers were friends or family. But as orders started coming in from across the country, 3 distinct groups kept appearing. Physical education teachers were buying the product because it was affordable and flexible enough to be used in multiple types of games. Ultimate Frisbee players were discovering it at tournaments and sharing it across college campuses. Youth groups, particularly organizations like Young Life, were also adopting it as a regular activity. None of these audiences had been targeted. They were discovered entirely through customer responses. Once these groups were identified, the strategy shifted. Instead of traditional advertising, Spikeball focused on distribution through communities. Free sets were sent to PE teachers, who then introduced the game to other schools. Ultimate teams were given equipment with the expectation that they would pass sets along to opposing teams during tournaments, and youth groups were encouraged to share the game across different chapters. Their growth came from players introducing the game to other players. The second year, it grew to around $18,000 in revenue. The third year reached about $45,000. By the fourth year, it crossed over $100,000 in revenue. Then it accelerated quickly, reaching nearly $500,000 and eventually around $1.4 million within 5 years. Now, if you actually want to start a business like Spikeball, I can help you out. I started my first LLC in May of last year, and I've been helping others ever since. I can register your LLC with the state, serve as your registered agent, get you an EIN number, and get your company up and running in less than a week. It's crazy how a company like Spikeball can literally be started in a day. Feel free to reach out to me through my email in the description if you have any questions about starting your business. Chris decided that Spikeball would remain the brand name, but the sport itself would be called roundnet. This distinction prevented the brand from becoming generic and losing trademark protection. It also allowed the sport to grow independently without being tied exclusively to one company. In 2015, everything changed when Spikeball appeared on Shark Tank.
I'm here today looking for an investment of $500,000 in exchange for 10% of my company, Spikeball. Spikeball is poised to be the next great American sport. Like all great sports, Spikeball is very easy to learn, but really difficult to master.
The process required months of preparation. The episode was filmed well before it aired, and the company had to prepare for a potential surge in demand without knowing if the segment would actually be broadcast. Manufacturing timelines were long, with product taking up to 100 days to arrive from overseas. Chris ended up securing a deal with Daymond John during filming.
Call it even at 20? We're done.
All right, go.
But the deal was never finalized afterward. Even without the deal, the exposure had a significant impact. The episode introduced Spikeball to a much larger audience, and reruns continued generating interest years later. Retailers from different countries began reaching out after seeing the segment. As the company grew, it moved beyond simply selling equipment. Tournaments became more structured. National championships began attracting large numbers of players. Organizations were formed to support the sport, including governing bodies focused on roundnet at both national and international levels. Spikeball positioned itself as the leading company supporting the sport, while allowing the broader ecosystem to grow independently. Most tournaments and events were organized by local communities rather than the company itself. Over time, the player base expanded into the millions. What started as a discontinued product from the late 1980s is now played by millions of people worldwide. The company has expanded into a full organization with dozens of employees, structured competitions, and a global presence. The original version of Spikeball failed because it never reached enough people. The second version grew because it reached the right ones first and expanded outward from there.